نحن مين؟ نحن مش عرب، نحن عرب.
We're all Arabs, aren't we, she says. And what have these children ever done? Eventually a handout, small sachets of salt. I'm sorry to ask this, but I haven't eaten for 3 days, he says. Could you give me some food? Now come inside to Madaya's makeshift clinic.
How long has it been since she had milk?
We give her milk once every 10 days.
What are you giving her then?
Water and salt.
God help us. And do you have nappies?
No, I use plastic bags.
Dr. Mohammed says around 200 people a day come to the clinic after fainting from hunger. This patient says he has not eaten for 25 days. Another patient with Dr. Mohammed. In Syria, in Madaya, in 2016, it has come to this. A small glimmer of hope in Madaya. A tiny amount of food was delivered yesterday by the charity Hand in Hand. They say they got milk and some meat to 600 families. But look at the amounts. It's a tiny drop in a place where up to 40,000 people are reckoned to be trapped and at risk of starvation. Now, the blockade of Madaya began 6 months ago when the pro-Assad Syrian army and allied Hezbollah forces pushed to reassert control over areas close to the Lebanese frontier. But siege tactics are being used on many sides in the Syrian war. In the far north, at Idlib province, at Kafraya and Al-Fawar, thousands of people have been cut off without food by anti-Assad rebel forces. Al-Fawar on December the 28th, and the International Red Cross managed to penetrate the anti-Assad besiegers to bring in food aid and rescue the sick and wounded. In Damascus today, the Red Cross told us again there are many sides to this war in many locations, and many of them are besieging and starving civilians.
What we are seeing currently on the ground in Syria, that the humanitarian, very dire humanitarian situation in the towns of Madaya, but also Fu and Kefraya, is only an example of a greater problem that is currently happening in this country. We are talking here about nearly 500,000 people that are currently living under a siege.
Back in Madaya, the man says a bit of tomato juice and water is all he has for the children. Starving civilians is a war crime by any definition, and the wider world has not stopped President Assad's forces from doing this in almost 5 years of war. And yet, in the far north, because of our new war with the Islamic State, Britain is now effectively in military alliance with anti-Assad fighters who are also starving civilians, also committing war crimes. A fact not lost on many Syrians.